Damn.
Okay.
Big bottom of clock. Wait, what's your position on abortion, Ken?
Yeah, I'm recording this.
Somebody said
Going
God
on.
picked himself. Yeah, Lex is funny. All right, yeah, Smoothie, I guess what's your argument for pro-choice?
I don't really have an argument, but I think I'm pro-choice because these babies lack traits that a person has. Uh, that's basically it. On God.
These babies lack traits that a person has. And what would these
Yeah.
traits be?
Oh yeah. Like, what's these traits again? I
What? Why are you asking Ice? I'm asking you, what are these
no,
traits that you're talking about?
yeah, my whole Discord done fucked up. Somebody called me, but yeah, like these psychological states, man, like shit like that.
Psychological states. Okay. Write this down. Psychological states. Okay, so you take the view that, wait, what's your definition of person, by the way?
Uh, let's say something that meets the specific gene pool, like a Homo sapien, while also deploying these like cognitive criteria.
Something that meets a gene pool.
While also deploying these cognitive criteria.
While deploying what?
Cognitive criteria.
While deploying cognitive criteria.
Some of
Okay.
these cognitive criteria, yeah. I know.
And by cognitive criteria, you just mean psychological states.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I think everything under a cognitive criteria is indexed or is like a psychological state. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm not really seeing the argument here. Like, how do we get to the fact that abortion is morally justified?
Well, I said I don't got an argument, but sure. Let me get a
Do you have
syllogized
any
argument.
motivations for why you think that abortion is morally justified?
I give you the motivations. Motivations is because a fetus lacks traits that a person has. You just said you don't see that argument. You don't see the correlation to why lacking these traits entails that abortion is morally permissible.
Well, I'm not even sure if this sort of thing is a motivation for the pro-choice view, because the pro-lifer could actually accept all of these things and still preserve pro-life principles. So I'm not even sure if this is a motivation for the view.
I'm just I got a whole argument. I was just trolling.
Okay, well, what's the argument?
I had to copy and paste my shit. And I said, I swear to God, if Shimmer screenshots this and send it everywhere and every single server, I'm gonna kill myself. Boy, ready for ChatGPT
You posted it in general? Okay.
Yeah. Simple-minded Smoothie.
If
Yeah,
an
Lex.
entity lacks morally relevant anthropomorphic traits, then it possesses a diminished moral status relative to its fully developed human person. Morally relevant anthropomorphic traits, therefore, fetus possess diminished moral status. If an entity has a diminished moral status.
Yo, am I the Saw King, bro? I got 7 saws, bro. Jesus. That's a good thing.
Okay.
Yo, Smoothie, just sold already. Yo, this is bad.
What do you mean by anthropomorphic
Shut
traits
the
here?
fuck up. Get off my dick, you ugly bitch. What you say?
What do you mean by anthropomorphic traits?
Like, just human-like traits.
Human-like traits?
Yeah, and then inside of the premises, it just states that meaningful anthropomorphic traits or meaningful human-like traits. If you want me to extrapolate what meaningful anthropomorphic traits are to me, then I can.
What do you mean by human-like traits? What are those?
I'm sure, like something that seems to be similar towards these pre-existing entities to which we categorize as humans, right? And we just say humans typically are something of like a Homo sapien species, while also, let's say in its nature, for it to deploy some type of higher rationale.
What?
What? Wait, did
I
you
don't know
not
what
hear
you
that?
just said.
Oh, okay. So what I mean by a human, what I mean by a human is just saying something of this gene pool. Like
No,
something
what do you mean by
Homo.
human-like traits is what I asked.
Okay. So what I said about human-like traits is what I mean by anthropomorphic traits. It just says that these said traits that are identical or similar to things that are already pre-existingly there, which we categorize to be humans. And when I say a human is just something that is a Homo sapien, which typically deploying this said higher rationale. Okay, Sharon, you keep doing this, I'm gonna have to dick you down, boy. I'm gonna have to dick you down.
Typically deploying higher rationale. Okay, so you said by human-like traits, you just mean something that's similar to things that are already human that typically deploy higher rationale. That's what you mean by human-like traits?
Y'all humans retarded. What do you say?
By human-like traits, you mean something that's similar to things that are already human, but they typically deploy higher rationale.
Yeah.
Okay, and by higher rationale, I take that to mean what, like rational activity? They're able to engage in rational activity? Or do you mean something else? Okay.
Yeah, we could take it to be that level. Yeah.
And so this sort of thing is the type of thing that's sufficient for something to be a part of the moral community, on your view, right?
Yeah, I think fetuses are still morally valued, just not in the same moral evaluation as persons.
Okay, so like if we had like some sex doll, for example, that was like really advanced and it had similar capabilities, like it has similar rational capacities like humans did, would it be the case that, you know, this human sex doll, or rather this non-human sex doll, is also part of the moral community?
You a freak ass nigga, boy.
It's a
But
question.
I know you still a freak ass nigga. But yeah, I said typically those things are still morally considered. They do deploy anthropomorphic traits, which is like you said
So
of a
like it
high.
would be wrong to like do something to this, you know, this sex doll. Like it would be morally
Yeah,
wrong to do that.
yeah. I say yeah, that's weird, boy. Don't do that.
No,
That's gay.
I'm not asking if it's weird. I'm asking if you think that it's morally wrong.
Yeah, I can say something is wrong. I can say the reason to why it's wrong is because I find it to be weird. Yeah, it's like that shit weird.
Okay,
Oh God.
what do you take wrong to be then? Do you just take that to be an expression of like an attitude or something?
Well, I think everybody takes wrong to be an expression of an attitude.
Well, that's obviously false, right? It's
You
not
don't
the
think
case that
it's of an
it's not
attitude?
the case that wrongness is just an expression of attitudes on some theories of wrongness or on some normative theories.
Oh, okay. So are you gonna like a moralist claim or just saying that wrong is not an expression of?
Well, I'm not making any claims. I'm just asking you what you mean by the term wrong, because when you said that, you can just say that something that feels weird is just what it means for something to be wrong to you. I take that to be an expression. Maybe you're an expressivist about moral language. I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. What do you mean when you say wrong?
Uh, yeah, I can say that's what I mean. Like when I say wrong or whatever, it seems like everybody is expressing an emotion or whatever index towards their preferences, but somebody just provides a different conclusion, right? Like even though they're expressing it with their emotions, they're saying what they're expressing with their emotions is going to be proposition or etc. That's why I'm saying that wrongness. It seems like still going to be something that is expressed with their emotions, just they reaching a different consequence. I mean, a different conclusion from the expression. But sure, I could say analytically, I just think that wrong means something that is not right, fair, or acceptable. It just refers to actions or like decisions or ideas that can cause harm.
Do you take the view that, you know, ordinary semantic intentions predict that moral sentences are not true thoughts?
Ordinarily semantic what positions?
Do you take the view that ordinary folk semantic intuitions predict that moral sentences are not true thoughts?
I had to break that down in like nigga terms, bro. I don't know what that shit mean.
When the average person says, I believe X is wrong, do you take the view that that sort of thing is the type of thing that has a probability, or rather a capacity of being true or false? Or do you take it that moral sentences don't aim to represent propositional content?
Uh, I don't know. I just think they express emotions, like I sort of like an emotivist. Okay, sure. Stop dick sucking. I'm gonna slap your
Emotivists,
African
so
booty cheek.
it's not the case that they're expressing something propositional.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think, for example, that propositions can be expressed with pure semantic a semantic intuition or a semantic thesis or a semantic
What?
notion.
Okay, I don't
I
know what
don't
you
think
just
that.
said there. That sounded like a bunch of gibberish to me. But
Yeah, I don't take propositional statements to just be expressed with a semantical thesis.
yeah,
I think
that
there has to be
also
some type
sounded
of
like
action.
gibberish. I don't know what you said there. But
Wait,
if
is there something wrong with my mic, or are you just
you
saying you
were
don't understand what I'm saying?
no, I'm saying that the words that you just put together don't make any sense, is what I'm saying. But
Yeah, I guess.
if
Okay, try this
well,
shit.
but let me ask you a question though. If you're taking the view that moral sentences that, or rather that folk intuitions, folk semantic intuitions predict that moral sentences are not true thoughts, what's the motivation for this view?
Wait, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
What's the motivation for this sort of expressivist, non-cognitivist thesis that you're espousing here? What's the motivation?
Oh, it just don't seem like that these propositions without any backing or justification or credence to support them to be propositional, or these quote unquote how we utter these said things to be propositional has any backing to why they are propositional. It seems like propositional statements do have justification to why they actually are propositional. When we say something is semantically, when we say something, it seems like semantic issues or a semantic notion or semantic theses are propositional is because there are credences or justification to back up the semantic thesis, right? Seems like something could be synthetically true inside of reality to support this semantic thesis. Therefore, we say that semantic thesis
What?
is propositional.
Look, do you understand the words that you're using?
Yeah. Which words are you confused on?
I don't think you know the words that you're using.
You want me to explain thesis? Because I think that's the word that you're confused on.
No, I know what a thesis is, but like you just put a bunch of okay. Look, if are you adopting an expressivist thesis about moral sentences?
What do you mean by expressivist
Like, I
thesis?
just need yes or no.
I'm
By
just asking.
expressivist thesis, I just mean that moral sentences don't aim to represent like facts about the world or the way that things morally are. Rather, they're just mere expressions of, attitudes or emotional states that people have. That's what I mean by that.
Well, I do think there are moral claims that exist, or you said if you say expressivist thesis to just means that clearly states a personal belief, feeling, or perspective about a topic or whatever. I do take that to be something that's on the lines of morality, just not something that can be proven to be objectively true or objectively true or propositional. Yeah, I take them to be an expression or
Well,
something that's based
just to be
upon.
clear, like you understand that you can be a subjectivist and also believe that moral sentences are true that. So it's not necessarily the case that if you believe that moral sentences express propositions, that would necessarily commit you to like a moral realist thesis. So,
That, that's not what
but
I'm saying.
it seems like what you're doing though, is that you're committing yourself to a sort of non-cognitivist thesis, at least from what I'm gathering. Maybe you're not, and you can clarify that if that's the case. But it seems like you're committing yourself to some kind of expressivist, non-cognitivist thesis. If that's the case, the next question that I was going to ask you was simply how you address the Frege-Geach problems.
Man, what's this freak ass nigga named Zyko talking about? But I'm just seems like the argument or the meta-ethical theory to which I align to, it just seems like it's like under a emotivist like type standard. Or you
Yeah.
could
So how do you address like the Frege-Geach problems that are
does that
posited against standard
I don't,
expressivist?
I don't do meta-ethics, so if that's pertaining to meta-ethics, then you have to explain that to me.
Well, okay. So the basic idea is that inferences are about propositions. You and I both agree on this, right?
Inferences are about propositions. What do you take an inference to
Yeah.
be?
Oh, I just take an inference to be. You don't know what an inference is? Like
No,
when I say that,
I'm asking you, what do you take it to be?
I'm just taking it in the same way that you're taking it.
Okay, man. How do you think that I'm taking it?
In the standard notion, like what?
Yo, what is the standard notion? Yo, what is the standard notion?
All I mean by inference here is just the type of thing that informs us about a conclusion based on evidence or reason.
Oh, okay.
Do
You
you
say,
also adopt that definition?
yeah, I can say, yeah, I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we agree on the standard notion of inference. Okay. So you agree that inferences are about propositions, right?
Yep, inferences are about propositions. Fear what you explain with
Okay,
an inference.
so if you agree that inferences are about propositions and you also take the view that moral sentences are non-propositional, let's just consider a case like this. Or let's consider this sort of inference. If I say something like, it is wrong to torture babies for fun, P1. P2, if it is wrong to torture babies for fun, then it is wrong to torture Shinra for fun. Conclusion, therefore, it is wrong for Shinra to torture babies for fun, right? Now, that argument seems straightforwardly valid, but it seems like, and by the way, unless you reject the validity, I don't know why you would ever do that. It's obviously valid. It follows like a classic modus ponens rule, which is a valid rule of inference in any classical logic system. But it seems like the argument is straightforwardly valid. But if you're adopting like an expressivist thesis where moral sentences are non-propositional, then it seems like the argument is no longer valid. And the reason why the argument isn't valid is the equivocation that's happening with respect to the phrase "it is wrong to torture babies for fun," right?
Yeah, if you just
So
say
how do you explain things like this?
yeah, if you just say that inferences are propositional, or what that's what it takes for something to be propositional, and you take an inference to just mean like you take an inference to mean making or means making a logical guess based upon facts or clues or whatever. And I'm just saying that it seems like the facts doesn't exist inside of reality or synthetically to support that moral statements are going to be propositional. But there are facts
Synthetically?
to support. But there are facts to support that. Let's say these semantics are going to be propositional if there are synthetic justification to prove these semantics to be propositional, right? When we say 1 + 1 equals 2, and let's say the universe is vacant, there's like the universe is a vacuum, nothing exists inside of the universe. How do we determine if 1 + 1 actually equal to without relying on the set thing, the analytics or the description of 1 + 1 equaling to? I don't think you can
Look,
justify.
okay, I'm not even sure what you're responding to here, but all I'm asking is how you actually exactly address the problem of the fact that an expressivist thesis can't even answer this very, very basic inference in the argument that I've just given you currently, right?
I'm saying
So in the
that.
argument that I gave you, I think you and I both agree that the argument is straightforwardly valid, follows a valid rule of inference in any classical logic system, but it seems like the second premise can be uttered, like you can express the second premise without actually without expressing like an attitude of approval or disapproval. But on your view, for example, you can't even account for that simple inference in the argument. So I'm asking you, how do you address this rather, how do you address this as the inference is concerned? as an expressivist?
Because I'm saying under the line of rule, like, would you take an inference to be, which is meaning logical guess based upon facts or clues? I'm saying, again, the fact doesn't exist inside of that moral statement. There isn't a fact that exists inside of reality. That's what you're doing to Shira is morally wrong. It's just something that is based upon emotions. It's an expression. We're saying, yeah, our expression is deeming that said thing to be morally wrong. It's not propositional.
That's begging the question.
Not begging the question. You just asked me, okay, what do you, if that inference exists
No,
inside
it is
of that,
begging the question.
if you just said, if I pose this argument inside of like, and give an inference rule inside of like a valid argument or whatever, would that entail that moral statement is going to be propositional, or it would seem like it would entail that moral statement is propositional? Well, I'm saying, well, it doesn't entail that moral statement is propositional if the inference to which we
that's not the claim that I'm making here.
Oh, okay. Then what's the claim you're making?
The claim that I'm making here simply is that the argument that I presented to you, I think you and I both agree is straightforwardly valid, but an expressivist thesis can't even explain the simple inference there, which seems like a problem.
Wait, explain what simple inference?
The inference in the argument.
The modus ponens argument?
Yeah.
Wait, your quote unquote modus ponens. Yeah, I agree that the argument is modus ponens, right? If you just say that the argument is modus ponens, but the thing to which I'm so asking for, if the inference is going to be indexed towards the moral claim being like a fact or something that is, we can make a logical guess based upon facts or clues. I'm saying that the moral claim itself doesn't hold a fact or doesn't hold in a fact inside of reality to support the said thing to be true or propositional. The thing to which
wait, let me write down what you're saying, because I don't know what you're saying. So let's just go one at a time. So you said the moral fact, what?
Yeah, it seems like the moral argument to which you're making doesn't have a fact to which would make it true, or clues to make it true, or to make it something that is propositional.
The moral argument that you're making doesn't seem to what? Have propositional content? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't hold a propositional context because there isn't any fact about the moral claim to which you're making. There's only a fact when we say, for example, that there's an inference rule inside of an argument. There's only a fact about that because an argument can be backed up synthetically or analytically. And we say, for example, that argument is analytically true. Okay, how do you justify something being analytically true? And it seems like the justification is something that is synthetic. So that's how we determine if something is propositional. We determine something is propositional to me if there's going to be an analytic or a synthetic backing, the synthetic backing up already the semantical issue or the semantical thesis. If there's no synthetic backing for the thesis to which you gave, which is a moral thesis, that I would claim it to be propositional.
Okay, I literally have I'm not even trying to be bad faith here. I don't know what you just said. It sounded like you said a bunch of stuff, and I don't know how exactly the things tie to each other. But look, how are you familiar with the Frege-Geach problem? Like, do you know why it was posited as an issue?
No, that's why I said
No,
I asked you, like, when you presented that problem, I said, well, if it's something pertaining to like metaethics, I don't do metaethics. So that's why I asked you to explain it.
Okay, so I can explain it. Maybe it'll provide more clarity for the sake of the debate. So the Frege-Geach problem is essentially a problem. The reason why it's a problem is that it's supposed to be a task for expressivists to specify the relationship of validity or inference, and how that validity, or rather the relationship between the validity and the inferences in basic argumentation, applies to statements when those statements have expressive force, or what rather when they're understood in terms of expressive force. Okay, so that's essentially the whole basic idea behind the Frege-Geach problem. Now, what I'm asking you here simply is, if we consider a very, very basic inference, right? It is wrong to torture babies for fun. If it's wrong to torture babies for fun, then it's wrong for, Shinra to torture babies for fun. Therefore, for Shinra to torture babies for fun. That seems like a straightforwardly valid argument, right? I think you and I both agree on that. But on the expressivist account, which you're defending, the argument is no longer valid. And the reason why the argument isn't valid is because of the equivocation that occurs in the first premise. It is wrong to torture babies for fun, right?
If you take an argument to be valid, if those claims hold a fact, or if those can be facts supported by the said inference, then sure. If that's not an argument be valid, then I say that your argument to which you made, which is a moral argument, isn't valid because it doesn't hold a fact to it isn't something that is justified. It's not a reality. There isn't any fact to justify that moral claim.
There isn't any fact. How are you defining fact here?
It's something that's true, man.
Something that's okay. So you're saying that it is not true that it is wrong to torture babies for fun. You're saying that that's a false statement.
I think it's just an expression.
No, but you said that the way that you define fact is just something that's true.
Yes,
right?
something that is true and can be proven. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're saying that the first premise in that argument that I gave is not a fact. And by it not being a fact, you're just negating the fact that it's true. So all you mean to say there is that P1 is not true.
Yep, that's what I said
Okay,
initially.
so it is not true that torturing babies for fun is bad. That's not
Yeah,
true.
it's not true. It's just an expression. We say, for
Okay.
example, that it's not like if you take it to be propositional that torturing a baby is morally wrong. That's the thing to which I'm disagreeing upon. I don't think it's propositional. I think it's an expression. So we can express that torturing a baby is wrong. Sure, we can express that. We can express that utterance, but that doesn't
Why
make
would
that
I
expression of the utterance true.
why would I accept this sort of thesis as
Well,
a thesis
because I
where
provided.
if you adopt, well, hold on, let me finish. Why would I accept
I don't
this
know.
view as opposed to
I don't
just
know.
adopting what?
I don't know what a cognitive thesis is.
A cognitive. Oh, wait, did I say are you asking like if is that in reference to something that I said? Or what are
Yeah,
you talking about?
you said a cognitive thesis.
Oh, yeah, sure. So there's cognitivism and then there's non-cognitivism. So the cognitivist thesis, essentially the idea that moral statements do in fact express propositional content and that moral sentences are true that. That's all it means. That's all I mean when I say cognitivist thesis. Okay.
Uh,
So what I'm saying is, why would I not accept a cognitivist thesis where I don't have to deal with this sort of problem where because like on a cognitivist thesis, presumably moral language is just descriptive. And so the meaning of these terms, number one, the validity of that basic argument that I just gave you can be accounted for, and two, the meaning of the terms don't have to change depending on like whatever embedded context might be present in the set of propositions. Why wouldn't I accept this view as opposed to your view, where the proposition, or rather, I guess the statement "torturing babies for fun is wrong" is in fact false? Why would I accept your view?
well, if you're just saying that it seems to be descriptive based upon like if you just say like that's just something that is indexed towards your preferences, right? Like you say, just that thing seems to be descriptive via the ethical theories to which you align to. But it doesn't seem like a credence towards the proposition being true or probabilistically true. It just seems like, well, I have a strong intuition towards this meta ethical theory, and this meta ethical theory like leans in or provides credence towards these other theories to which I agree to. Then it seems like I should be intuitively more aligned to these theories. Well, I'm not like my argument is not trying to like say, for example, that okay, you should do these, you should be appealing to my ethical theory. It's just saying my ethical theory just seems to have like more of a basis to why it should be or why it ought to be used and why it seems to be more logical than yours if your argument is just based upon intuitions.
Okay, so I don't even. What was that responding to?
You said why would you why would you not take the what is it, the cognitive thesis or cognition,
Yeah,
whatever fucking thesis you said, and
yeah. My question was, why wouldn't I just adopt a cognitivist thesis where I don't have to deal with this problem?
yeah, exactly. He said, why would you not have to take the cognitive? I mean, why would you not just take the cognitive thesis where you don't have to deal with this problem? And the problem, presumably, is just saying that, well, the claim to which I'm making is obviously not a descriptive claim. And the claim to which a cognitive thesis is making is a descriptive claim. So I'm just saying, when you say something is descriptive to you and index towards your moral thesis or your moral notion, it's just saying, well, intuitively, this said thing seems to be the case via these other theories to which I subscribe to. My argument is, again, it's not saying that, well, you should align to this one, or you should align to this one, or you should align to that one. My argument is just saying that simply that this meta-ethical theory seems to be more logical than yours based upon the facts and justification to which I gave. Your argument is just based upon intuition. It's not like justifying why this claims or why this thesis should be
Okay,
true.
maybe let's go a different route because I'm not even really sure still like what you're responding to here. But look, do you agree with me when I say that when we talk about things like intentional states, for example, that intentional states are either going to be classified as cognitive or belief like,
You said what?
non-cognitive, desire like, or expressivist like? Do you agree with that?
Which ones? I didn't hear that.
Do you agree with me when I say that intentional states are either going to be classified as cognitive, which I take those to be like belief-like states, or non-cognitive, which is going to be like desire-like states or expressivist-like states? Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that?
That intentional states are, and when you mean by intentional states, you just mean that these mental states that are directed towards something, right?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Now it seems like whether or not those two things fall under either category is going to be based on its functional role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think you and I both agree that cognitive states are the types of things that aim at correctly representing the world, and that their function is to matter in the world, and that there's a mind-to-world relation, right?
You said their functions is to map things that happen inside of the world or how things are.
Yeah, they aim to correctly represent things about the world.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sometimes.
now what do you take non-cognitive states to do?
You said non-cognitive states to do, and you already clarified that a non-cognitive is, I'm not even gonna just go into clarification. I could just say I take a non-cognitive state to be someone who believes that moral statements like stealing is wrong do not express objective facts or truths.
Sorry, say that again.
I take somebody get Shinner off my PP for I smack his butt on Jesus. But like I take a non-cognitive state, or what I think it to be is just someone who believes that moral statements like stealing is wrong do not express objective facts or truths.
Okay. First of all, are you like an internalist about moral semantics?
Whatever that is. What does that mean?
Okay, so you take the view. How much do you know about this topic?
Like I told you I don't know anything about metaethics. I'm just freeballing this shit.
Okay, so do you think it would be more productive to just move out of the metaethics and get back into the normative stuff?
It don't matter, sure, if you want.
Because I don't really feel like explaining. Yeah, okay, it's explaining every single thing. Okay, I guess we can just get back to the normative thing. Do you have like a normative theory that you defend?
Nope.
You don't have a normative theory. Okay, so what does it mean for an action to be wrong on your view? An action is wrong if and only if what?
But that just presumably goes under the theory of like, if I say an action is wrong if and only if, et cetera, it just goes under a normative theory. I don't know. I would say if it causes harm, sure. I could just go that. Just say that.
If it causes harm. And what is meant by harm?
Should I just get like the harm, the account of harm, or are you just meaning like what's the definition?
I'm asking you like what does it mean when you say the term harm? What does that mean? What does that term mean?
It just means to refers to causing emotional or psychological damage to someone or something.
Causing emotional, and is that exhaustive?
What do you mean by that?
Like, does it exhaust all the cases of harm?
All the cases?
Yeah.
I don't think so. That could be up for interpretation if you argue for it.
Okay, so it's not an exhaustive definition. Okay, so do you think this definition covers most cases of harm?
Yep.
Okay, so you think most cases of harm involve causing emotional or psychological damage to something. Okay, and you think that the abortion is wrong because of what?
I think that abortion is permissible because it doesn't cause any emotional or psychological.
Sorry, permissible.
Yeah, so like psychological or emotional harm towards the fetus.
It doesn't cause any psychological or emotional harm towards the fetus. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the case that in order for something to be wrong, that it must cause emotional or psychological harm to the fetus? Is that a necessary condition for what it means for something to be wrong?
For something to be wrong, no. I think
okay, so there can be cases where you can do something wrong without causing emotional or psychological damage.
Yeah, it's just not something that can be harmed if this thing is the case. Like, I agree that a fetus cannot be harmed because it doesn't hold these psychological or emotional states. But I can say that in some cases that, let's say, like doing something towards something that, let's say disorientating something that doesn't hold a psychological or an emotional state would still be wrong. Like, and I can give like justification to why it would be wrong. Like, right, like disorientating a car unjustifiably would be wrong and intuitively to a lot of people. Just not harming them.
Disorientating a car would be wrong.
Yeah, like
discombobulating. In a normative sense?
You said what? In the numbers?
In a normative sense?
If what you take normative to mean just like normal, sure. But if you're taking it like a different logical sense or philosophical sense, then you have to explain.
Normal?
Yeah, if you take normative or in a normative way, if you take that to just mean a normal way, then sure. But if you take it to be on a different philosophical definition, then you have to explain.
What?
Okay, Smoothie. I think. Look, I honestly, I think you need to. I think you need to go read a little bit more.
Wait.
And then we can have the debate.
I literally said, I never said normative. Never said normative means normal. I said if you take it to be that.
Yeah, but like who takes it? Who takes the term normative to mean?
A lot of animated debaters. A lot of anime debaters think normative, or hold on, I'm talking. A lot of anime debaters take normative means just normally or normally, or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are like retarded.
Negation,
right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you take normative or a normative way to just mean normal, then you have to explain. Then I would agree. But if you take it to a different philosophical definition, then you have to explain.
Oh, okay, look, Smoothie. I think what might be best is that we end the debate here, and I think you
Oh,
should go read a little bit more about these
no.
concepts.
I'm not gonna read, bro. I don't even do that shit. Oh, come
Oh
on,
well,
bro.
then I mean, then you're just not going to be equipped for some of these conversations. Then
Come
if you
on,
don't want to
bro.
read.
Stop using those big nigga words. I told you to use nigga terms. You kept
Okay,
using stupid words, bro.
this is over,
It's
right,
not
Kay?
even a
This
big
is over.
word.
This is over,
Yes,
right,
yeah,
Kay?
I think it's over. I think it's over.
Okay, good. Yeah, that should have ended 5 minutes ago.
Shut up, Patrick.
All right, I'm next, boys.
Do you think, by the way, and curiosity, that there was a chance, there was at least some chance that was large enough to meaningfully bring up? Do you mean normal when you say normative? To anime debater K Kojo, famous anime debater?